On our previous lesson, we have created our first view, modifying the content of our web page's body. Just a recap, we have created a simple text hello world using the HTTP response. So now we'll be discussing the next part of the MTV framework. We had the view, then now we'll have the model. So model contains your database structure. So anything that is typically or basically related to your database creation or somewhat the tables, the entities or relations. So we'll be using models on that part. So in that case, just go to your application. So I have here my app and then proceed to models.py. So here at models.py, here we can or we will create our models, okay? So typically, again, the equivalency of the models on our database structure, each model that we will create is an equivalent of a table, an entity, or a relation. So one thing, if views are functions, so models are classes. So to create a model, let us use a class or let's create a class. And then the name of our model, make sure we are following the naming convention of a class. So let's say we'll be creating student records, okay? So we have your class student. Then we need to provide something within the parentheses of our class. Okay, again, the purpose of providing a class within a parenthesis is inheritance, okay? Meaning we wanted to inherit something or basically probably everything within a specific class for that to be applied to our created model. So that would be models.model. We are trying to inherit anything that this class model has so that we can implement that to our created model. Now, since this is a class, we'll now be dealing with attributes and methods. For now, we'll be creating attributes. On the case of models, attributes equivalent on your tables or entities are the fields or are the columns, okay? So let's say, for example, you can create a student number, then let's just call models. Then after the models, we can now set what type of field our attribute is. So student number, so typically it's a number. So we can say, we can use integer field, okay? And then we could set a few like verbose name, and so on. So I will set the max length to 11, or I should say 10. And then I could also set the verbose name. So what's the purpose of the verbose name? Verbose name is the name or a human readable name of our attribute. So I could mention here like student number, okay? And then I could give a name. So the name will be the name of the field. So for the name, let's call it the same, student number, okay? So we'll be doing the same on the rest of our details. Let's say, for example, we wanted to ask for names. So I'll have here first name equals to models, but since first names and last names or so on are not numbers, so we cannot use integer fields. So if you wanted to do, or if you wanted to use texts, you can use the char field, okay? One of the required attributes of a char field is the max length, okay? Max length allows us to specify the maximum allowable number of characters for our char field. So let's say I wanted to allow a name at least around 50. I think this is more than enough. For the verbose name, I'll call this one as first name. Sorry for the spelling. And then for the name, I will call this as the same of my variable. And then I'll be creating the same for the last name. For now, we'll just have these information, but of course, you can add more, okay? You can add more details and information. So let us save this one. Now, this is not the end of our model creation. On this part, we just created the model, but again, there are a few things that we need to configure. Well, typically it is not recognized by your settings or it is not recognized by your project. Any changes that has happened is still not yet recognized. So before we do those things, before or after we create our models, there are a few things that we need to set up as well. Okay, after creating your model, we need to proceed to our project. Under your project settings, go to settings.py, and then just scroll down. One thing here is, under the installed apps, we need to have our project to recognize our application. For now, our application, my app, is not yet recognized by the settings of our project. So to do that, we need to set my underscore app dot, and then we will be referring to the apps.py, so that's apps. And then if we visit the apps.py, before I continue this, if we visit this, we need to target this class, the my app config. Okay, this configuration allows your project to determine and identify some changes that is happening on your models. Okay, so we need to have your my app config or any configuration that has been made on your project or on your application. Okay, so this is one thing, so do not forget to save this one. So once you're done, by the way, there are a few contents we have here on our settings. So we have the middleware, the root URL configuration, the templates, which most of what we have here on the settings are already its default. Okay, so as much as possible, do not change anything here. Okay, to reduce some confusions, to reduce some unnecessary errors being encountered. Okay, so this is one thing that we will modify the installed applications, allowing us to recognize the configuration of your application. So if you have multiple applications created on your project, make sure that every application created must be added on your installed apps. Okay. Now after this, since here's one thing that you need to remember. Every time there is a change that happened on your models.py coming from your application, you need to migrate. Okay. So what's the purpose of migration? In Python Django, there are two migrations that we need to do. The first one, we call it the make migrations. The other one is migrate. The purpose of make migrations is to recognize all the changes that has happened on your models.py. So every time there is a change that has happened on your models.py, on our case, what was the change? We created, okay, we added a class student. We created a class, we created a model named student. So that is a change on our models.py. That means we need to do make migrations. Make migrations allows the project, allows our system to recognize any changes that happened on your models. Okay. Now, after doing the make migrations, we can now do the migrate. Migrate meaning we are recognizing those changes. Okay. So just proceed to your command line interface, and then to do the make migrations, just type py manage.py make migrations, and then after this you need to mention the name of your app. It should be my app. So as you can see here, I have warnings because I included a max length from the integer field. So we can actually remove that according to this. But it's just a warning. It's not typically, or an error. So that means the migration has been conducted. The model that we created, the student, has been recognized. Okay. So we can actually follow what has been given here since it's an integer field. Well, technically we do not need the length. So just save it and then do not forget to make migrations again. Again, we have changed something on our models.py. That means we need to do the make migrations again. Okay. So as you can see, it has been recognized that there has been an alteration on our field student number on our created class student or on our created model student. Now after this, we want our project to recognize all of these changes. Now to do that, we need the command py manage.py migrate. So as you can see, these are the migrations that we need. So everything is okay, I think. Now, typically after this, I will not run the server for now because we will not see anything. We will not see any changes happened on our web page because what we just created or what we just did is creating our models. We haven't done anything yet. We created our model. We recognize the changes through make migrations and migrate. Okay. The next thing for us to be able to manage, for us to be able to cater our database or our created entities or table, we need our administrator panel. Now, for our administrator, so for us to create our administrator, by the way, it's already created, it's already existing. Let me show you first. Go to my project and then go to urls.py. As you can see here on the urls.py, we already have an existing URL for the admin. Okay. So since this is already existing, that means we can actually access that already. So to do that, do not forget to run your server again by using pymanage.py run server. By running your server, visit 127.0.0, then change this to admin. As you can see here, we have here our admin page. Okay. So disregard this one because this is just a saved information. But for now, on our setting on our project on this environment, we do not have any administrator account yet. So first we need to create, so for us to be able to access this Django administration. So how do we create our administrator account? So I'll be exiting my server because I needed the CLI. So just type here py manage.py create super user. Now by this, we'll be asked for our username. So since we know that this is admin, so I'll name this one as admin. Then you'll be asked for an email address. You can use anything. So I'll be using my Bulls email. Please do not use my email without my permission. So I would suggest use yours. Then you'll be asked for a password. So for now, I'll be using a simple password like 128. As you could see, nothing is appearing because this is password. This is a password, but I've already typed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now it will ask me to confirm. So as you could see, since I've used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, it has a password validation. It says that my password is too common and the password is entirely numeric. But we can actually bypass the password validation. So we can click Y. So our user will be created. If you want You can change, of course, you can type no, but on our end, let's just continue. Let's use 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 as our password. So as you can see here, our super user is created. Now let's just run our server again for us to be able to log into our Django admin. Okay, now go back on our admin page and then let's type our username, admin with the password 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So as you can see, we have our successful login. These are the default site administration authentication and authorization. So we do not need to alter anything here, but this is our actually administrator page, which we can actually manage our models later since we have not yet set it up that way. But by the way, for your project, we cannot use this administrator panel provided by Django itself. You need to create your own to make it more dynamic, to make it more comprehensive and interactive as needed by your project, okay? So now, as you can see, we do not have yet our model created here. So what they wanted, of course, is since this is an administrator panel, we wanted to manage our created model here. So how do we do that? So go back to your code. Now, under your application, open the admin.py file. So as you can see here, we need to actually register our models here. So again, we need our admin file to recognize our models. So from that, we need to import as well. We can do the same from dot import models. And then we register. So how do we register? We use admin site dot register. Then we register our model. So that is stored on models dot student. Okay, just save your file. Then we can check again our command prompt or our CLI. As you can see, it also recognizes the changes that happen in our admin.py and it's already reloaded. So we do not need again to reload manually our server. Now we can go back to our admin and then just refresh this part. As you can see, we have now here our student model under our application, My App. So let's just click this one. As you can see, this is our student. Currently, we do not have anything, so we can actually add. So add student, as you can see here, we have our student number. So let's say I have this one as 1, and then I'll have my name as the data to be inserted. Then let's add another. So I'll be clicking save and add another. By the way, this is the verbose name. Okay, what you see here is the verbose name. So save and add another. So let's say 2, and then first name is this one. Okay, so and then let's add another. Okay, so save, and then here we could see we have here our students. So as you can see here, if we open, there are the details of our students. Okay, now that is how we manage our models using our admin or Django admin through the creation of our super user. Okay. Now our next topic will be creating a simple template which allows us to view the content of our models. Okay. So on our next topic, we'll now be interconnecting the complete framework of the model template view framework.